Sairam, everyone. We will start the class with prayers. Oh. 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 Sahana Bhavatu. Sahano Bhunaktu. Sahaviryam Karavavahai. Tejasvidavadhitamastu. Ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Sairam, everyone. Give me a minute. You can unmute and speak if you have any questions, but we will start the class. I would like to run through quickly what we covered the past 2 weeks so that just to recollect and remind ourselves where we were. I hope you all are okay with it. So I had spoken about vowels going from back of the throat or mouth to the front tip of the mouth. A, E, R, L, and U. That's a progression of how the sounds are produced. I touched that. And as I had said, the vowels means which are not having any contact, asprishta. So the vowels are always produced without any contact of any mouth parts. So the sound flows uninterrupted. Again, the same vowels A, E, R. I have pointed out the positions of the tongue. A is produced at the back of the throat with a slight lifting of the tongue at the back. E is the tongue sort of rises up parallel to the palate, and E is pronounced. R is pronounced when the tongue is curved up and pointing towards the top of the head. R. Then L is when the tongue is pointing towards the teeth, but not touching the teeth. It is L. And U is by bringing the lips together, making an U sound and saying U. Sister Vinodini, you had put your hand up. I will just.
Yeah, I have because sometimes the sound is not clear. The pronunciation after R, the other sound is not very clear. So I was wondering whether we could repeat after you or make it.
Okay, you can see the R sound is produced where you produce the Ra. Okay, which is Ra is produced by tongue pointing and touching the palate. Okay, top of the mouth, roof of the mouth is touched by the tongue when you say the word Ra. Okay. So here the vowel is supposed to be without touching the root. Okay, so you have the have the tongue raised, but it should not touch the palate. Okay, asprishta. So instead of saying ra, where you touch, so it's a bit more harder. You do not touch. So this is the technical term, but I don't want you to get so caught up in it. So so ideally it should not touch. That's what the theory is. But sometimes when we say r, it may touch. But the thing is, it's for practice. You can start. So it's where you produce ra. That's where you produce the word r. Okay, r is actually not ri or not ru. The mouth changes shape, but r is you just hold the tongue like that without touching the roof, but you push air and vibrate the tongue. R. Okay, that is technically okay. But I don't want you to get so caught up in it that we will not proceed. As soon as you understand it, you can try over a long period of time. I'm sure Swami will guide. Okay, so the next one is L, is where you produce the sound la. La. So where you produce the sound la, again without touching the roof of the mouth, or the part of the yeah, you should not touch it. You keep the tongue there and produce the sound l. Okay, l. Okay, la means you are touching it. Don't touch it. L means it should be almost touching but not touching. Okay, that is a theory, but you will never come across this sound that often. But it's just for completeness sake, I have covered it. L. Some people even pronounce that also with an R sound. R. L. I don't know whether it's right or wrong, but people produce slightly an R sound also along with L. L. Okay. There are a couple of different styles of pronouncing it, but I will just leave it at that. Okay. But R is something like Krishna, you will come across, or Vrishabha, like that. There are words which you use. Generally, people tend to say Kri or Kru, Krishna or Krishna. Both are not supposedly right. It's Krishna, Kr. Okay. So I will come to that. I think as we progress, I think the tongue will get better at pronouncing. Okay. But I don't want, sometimes we get caught up in one aspect so much, and we don't want to make a mistake. But I don't think we should be so obsessed with it, I would say. But just, I thought I would just touch on the theory, that's all. Okay, the next one is, so I also mentioned about longer vowels. So A becomes A, E becomes E, U becomes U, R becomes R, and so on. So it's double the amount of time, which is called long vowels. They also call in Sanskrit Dirgha. Okay, the short vowels are called Hrasva. Just for information, but we will touch those words later on. Then I spoke about A and I, which are actually a combination of A and E, two slightly different. One is straightforward joining of those two sounds, A and E, becomes A. When you do it slightly slowly, it becomes I, which is I. Okay. So those are supposedly coming out of the combination of those two sounds, A and E. The two letters which form because of that are A and I. Okay. The same thing comes with O and OW. The sounds A, basic vowels A and U, produce the word letters O and OW. So it is just combining those two sounds, we produce a sound somewhere in the middle of the mouth, as I have pointed out here. I think most of these sounds, I think we all produce, but we are not conscious of it. It is, if we start becoming conscious of it, it will also help in the pronunciation of the vowels, sorry, consonants. Then I also had covered the visarga, the colon sign, which is ha. It's an expellation of air at the end of a vowel, like that. But sometimes people give some sound to that also, like ha, he, who, and so on. But generally, it's supposed to be just expellation of air. Okay. Visarga means also just giving up, giving it away. So it's basically you have been speaking and you just let the air die down. So visarga. Then Anuswara is a dot at the top. Generally, it follows a swara or a vowel. Okay. Anuswara means, anu means which follows. Swara means the vowel. So Anuswara, the dot at the top, actually follows a vowel. And that's a nasal sound which we produce somewhere in the nasal cavity, in the sinus cavity, I would say. So I had, so all of these form the 16 vowels: a, I, u, r, l, a, I, o, au, and ah. Okay. So that forms the 16 vowels of Sanskrit language. Then I also touched upon the Omkaram, which is the combination of A, U, and but it is one letter. In one swipe, we touch all of them, and that becomes a letter by itself, which is Om. Okay, which is supposed to be the primordial sound from which all the vowels and consonants emerged. Then we touched upon Devanagari writing. The line at the top, I said, is Shiroreka, which symbolizes the Atman, which Paramatman, which holds everyone together in this world. And that's also reflected. So every letter we write, we should sing, there's a spark of that Paramatman, which is forming the letter. We had touched on some writing of the vowels also. I had given you the practice sheet. I think many of you may be familiar with, may have practiced it. I hope. I don't know whether I should just quickly go through those once again, or I can skip. If anyone feels that I should do that, then I will do so. If anyone feels that I should do the writing, then I will write. Otherwise, I will move on. I guess no one has asked me to write, so I'm going to skip. Maybe we can practice it at the end of the class also. So I'm going to go to Vienjana Consonants. So Vienjana, I said, it's usually Vienjana are consonants which actually break the sound, the flow of air, and release. At different points in the mouth, we stop the sound and then release it, and because of that, certain different sounds come out, and they give color to the sound, and they also make the knowledge become varied. Okay, so that it becomes easy for us to understand also. Okay, so that's called Vyanjana. Vividam gachatya upaga raga pasad iti, like that. Okay, we can take a look at the meaning itself later on once you all are more familiar with the Sanskrit language. So I had touched the Ka Varga, so there are 5 Vargas. Varga means one category, or a group, you could say, of sounds. So they are classified into 5 Vargas. Okay, they are called Vargiya Vyanjanani. That means those are consonants of a certain class of sounds. So the first one is Ka, which is produced at the back of the mouth. So the way it works is, I have written here, I think if you are printed out the pages I had given, I think you'll be having it handy. So the Ka is produced at it's called guttural or kanta. Okay, that means it's produced in the throat. So there are 4 sounds. First, let's tackle the 4 sounds. There's a 5th one, which is the nasal sound. I will come to that later. The 4 sounds here are ka, ka, ga, ga. Okay, so the ka and ka are differentiated only because the second ka has what is called a puff of air comes along when you produce the sound. So that's called aspirated. Okay, ka. Ka is without aspiration. The other one is ka. So the mouth position is the same. Everything is the same, except that you're expelling a bit of extra air in the second one. Ka, 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 ka. It is usually written as KHA. Sometimes people think if there's an H sound, actually the H symbolizes as pushing extra air. Ka, ka. Okay. The third one is ga. Okay, the same position, but we are adding some resonance to the sound. So ka, the first one and the third one, the difference is one is ka, other one is ga. Ka, ga, ka, ga. So the third one actually is called mridu. You soften it, you make it more rounded, you give it a bit more sound. Okay, so it becomes ga, and the fourth one is you again push a lot of air. Okay, puff of air has to come along when you are producing the sound, which is ga, ga, ga. Okay, so the ka, ka, ga, ga. Okay, shall we? I will say. I think you can practice it again. Ka, ka, ga, ga. Okay, and the fifth one is the nasal sound. The position is the same, but the sound is vibrated in your nasal cavity. So it's nga. I think all of you are familiar with it, but it's nga. So if you look at the mouth position, the tongue position, it will be the same as ka, ka, nga. Okay, it is just that you don't necessarily block the air there, but you keep the tongue that way, but you resonate in the nose. Ka, nga. Okay, so that is a difference between nga and ka or ga. So I will again go through ka, ka, ga, ga, nga. And you should understand the meaning significantly changes with how the sound is produced. Okay, so that is something which we will touch upon later on. I think you all like to write the letters also, so I'm just going to write the letters. I'm just going to stop sharing. I think then people finding it easier. So we are going to write the letter ka first. So you draw a circle almost, then you go up, you come down, and then you draw a line. This is ka. I will again draw it. You start a circle, go round, go up, and you draw a staff. Then you almost draw a mirror image of that, and you draw the Shiroreka, the line at the top. So this is ka. Okay. When you raise this and write the second ka, the second ka is written like this. Is something like a triangular shape, I would say, half triangle. Then you draw a circle here. Okay. This is ka, the second ka. I will again draw. This diagonal lines, two diagonal lines with Quickly, it's not as important, but then you draw a circle, go up, come down, and this forms the second K. Okay. Then the third one is G. It's more or less like a J. The first part. Then a staff next to it. So it looks like a J and an L, you know, for those who may find it easier to see the resemblance, and you draw a line above. Okay. That is G. You draw a J and an L, which actually starts at the top and extends down, and the line at the top, which is G. The next one is the fourth letter in the Ka Varga, which is G. Okay. That is aspirated G. So that is written like this. You can say it's a inverse of a 3. You start. So it's almost like a 3 written this way with a line extending, which is Gha. Last one is Nga. So line down, almost an S and a dot. Nga. Okay. Line and an S and a dot and a line above, which is Nga. I just thought I will demonstrate because I think people had asked me to demonstrate, but the deck has the information, and you all can always I think you can see. Some of the consonant letters can be a bit misleading because they look very similar. I will, at the end of the, maybe this end of the session or the next session, I will just point them out to you, because sometimes we can get confused. So as you can see, I have shown you the 4 Ka, Ka, Ga, Ga, and Nga. Okay. So those are the pronunciations and the way the letters are written in Devanagari. And you please also note the transliteration which I will be using. Ka, Ka, Ga, Ga, and Nga. So it's an N with the dot at the top. Okay. N with the dot of the top at the top is Nga. Okay. So we'll be using it consistently. So for at least a few more months, I will be using the transliteration also, so that you are familiar with it. So I thought I'll point out. Another thing which I wanted to point out was all these letters actually is a combination of the consonant sound and the vowel A. Okay, actually the letters Ik and A produce what's called Ka. Okay, so just to illustrate that, okay, I will just stop sharing once more. 1 second. So if I take the first letter Ka, So there is a dash like that which is put, okay, which is called halant. Okay. It's almost like this. It's a dash like that is put, which means there's no vowel combined with that consonant. So this has to be pronounced as ik, ik. Okay. Ik plus a. Ik plus a produces ka. Okay. So it's the same thing with all the other vowels. You'll put that and put a dash at the bottom. I just wanted to point at that out. Later on, I will deal with it a little more in detail. But I just want you to understand what we are actually covering as consonants now is the consonant sound plus a. The reality is the consonant by themselves cannot produce a sound without the help of a vowel following it. So for for the purpose of learning the consonants, actually we are covering all the consonants with a added for now. Okay. Later on, I will show you how the different vowels would produce different sounds. I think it's common in most Indian languages, but we will touch that a little later. Okay, I thought I would just point that out. Okay. So now we will go to the next varga or next class of sounds called cha. Okay. So just the way, if you look at that a was at the throat, equivalent in consonants is ka, ka varga. So now we come to the second one, which is basically the palatal, okay, where we produce the sound E, okay. The tongue actually is parallel to the, as you can say, parallel to the mouth of the roof of the mouth cavity, okay. So the palate, and by doing this, actually the sound is produced somewhere here, just a little away from the back of the mouth. The sound cha is produced. Cha. Actually, if you will just observe how your tongue is when you say cha, you will see the tongue is almost plastered, okay, at the top of the roof of the mouth. Okay, cha. So again, the same thing. We have the 4 categories of cha, and the last one is the nasal sound nya. Okay, we will look at each one individually. So if I look at it, cha, 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 cha. Okay. Then we go to ja and ja, ja, ja. The last one is the nasal. Again, the same position of the tongue, but the resonance, or you produce a sound in your nasal cavity, which is nya, cha, nya. Okay. So the sound goes like cha, cha, ja, ja, nya. Okay. I'm going to show you the writing of how these of the letters. So this is cha. As you can, I will write it out later. Cha, cha, ja, ja, and nya. Cha, cha, ja, ja, and nya. So I'm just going to write this. Actually, some of it is a bit more stylistically written here, but I will just show you. And I also want you to make a note of how the transliteration takes place. Normal, this cha is always written as CA, okay, cha. I hope you all remember how it is pronounced. In the transliteration, you cannot equate to an English word. Usually chair means CH we'll put, but in this case, to distinguish the unaspirated one and the unaspirated one, the first one is written as CA, cha. CH is cha. JA is ja, and ja is written as JHA, okay? And the nya, you can see above the N, you have what's called a tilde mark, okay? A squiggly swirl, okay, a tilde mark, and that is nya. So I want you to pay attention to the transliteration also, which we will be using. So as the previous one, you saw an N with a dot above. That is nga. This is N with the tilde above. Okay, so which is nya. So as long as you remember that, that will be useful when we read transliterated Sanskrit words later on. Okay, maybe I will just draw the letters once, if it's all okay. Have I paused the sharing? Is it still there?
No,
or no?
No. It's still showing.
Okay, stop share. Okay, thank you. So we're going to write the first cha. So you draw a line, horizontal line, then you draw a half circle, go up. This is cha. Draw a line. This is cha. Okay. The next one is the cha sound, which is the aspirated cha sound, the second letter in the cha varga, which is basically again like ga you write. Okay. So there are multiple ways people would write, but this is the way I write. Okay, actually, if you look at the sound which I showed, it has a squiggly like that, like that. But it's up to your preference. But as long as you can recognize the letter, it's okay. Okay. So if you look at the ga and cha, they are similar, but it is the ga is just for comparison. I will write. It's like this, but cha is like that. Okay. Some people even put a circle here. It's up to you. Cha. Okay. I'm going to erase it. The third one in the cha varga is the sound ja, and that's written as like this. A half circle at the bottom, and you draw a straight line. You draw a line this way. That is the letter ja. Okay, if you all are okay, then I will go to the next letter. So the next letter, ja, I think half of it you may already be familiar, I hope. How many of you want to guess what is this letter? If anyone wants to, I think Sister Bhavani was telling that I should check and see whether people recognize this letter. Anyone who recognizes this letter?
E. E.
Very good. So you draw a line like this and that becomes ja. Okay, you may not come across this sound that often, but I think we should cover it. So that's the word ja. Okay, so it's you write an E and then you do, you connect it to a staff like this and it becomes ja. Then we are coming to a nasal sound nya, nya. Which is an opposite, is a C turned around. Nya. Okay. C turned around. So that is nya. We are going to share again. So here, the chart is different than what I have written. I usually don't write this quickly here. I just roll a 3 and then go up. So it's up to you all which one. What I'm not a calligraphist, so people who like to draw nicely can learn from this and write it well. So it is cha, cha, ja, ja, and nya. Okay. So I will take you to the next set of consonants. So these letters are called palatal. The earlier one was called guttural. So in the throat, this palatal, where the soft palate actually you produce the sound. The next one is the Tavarga, Tavarga. Okay. So here, as you can see, pointed out, the tongue actually curls upwards and points to the top of the head. Okay. They say, it points to the Sahasrara chakra, it's, so it has certain power, how you keep the tongue and pronounce. So that's a Tavarga. Again, the same thing, ta, ta, unaspirated ta, and aspirated ta, aspirated, unaspirated da. So which is, you keep the same position where you produce the word ta, but you make it a bit more rounder and softer and a bit more resonant. Nadam, you add a bit more nada, so it becomes ta, becomes da. Ta, ta, da, da. Okay. Da, da. And the last one is na. So again, always observe how your tongue is curled upwards. Okay. Da, ta, da, da, na. So what Sanskrit will do is, you will become more and more aware how your mouth and the tongue are working. So Sanskrit is very, very systematic in how, or it has scientifically evolved how the sound is produced in the mouth. and how what's the tongue position, how is the mouth position, all that is given a lot of attention in Sanskrit. Though these sounds may be produced in other language speakers, but they're not very conscious of it. They are not properly arranged. That's the only difference. Okay. So you may be familiar with, you may be producing these sounds, but you have not been doing it consciously. So the th, the dh, and na. Okay. So these are called cerebral. So they sort of point to the cerebrum, or they're called murdhan. Okay, murdha. So I thought I will just touch upon those information. Okay, now we will go to how they are written. Okay, again, so as you can see, all the transliterations have a dot at the bottom. Whenever there's a dot at the bottom, that means your tongue has to curl upwards. Okay, the, th, the, and na. So wherever there's a dot at the bottom, usually you have to curl your tongue up. Okay. So if you, I don't know whether you took a look at r and l earlier on, there also there's a dot at the bottom. So which basically means the tongue has to curl up. Okay, it has to curl up. So I just keep that in mind when you look at the transliterated words of Sanskrit. Okay. So I will just maybe again quickly draw the letters. I'm just going to stop sharing. So I'm going to write the ta sound, the first letter in the ta varga, which is similar to what the sound you produce with T. Okay, anyway. Draw a line down. That is ta. With a line on top. Ta. It is simple. The first letter in the ta varga is ta. It should be straight. Maybe I will keep this and go to the second one. The second one is the ta sound. Okay, ta. The only difference between the first and the second is this half circle becomes full circle. Okay. You draw a line. Almost touching, you can touch it also, it doesn't matter. Ta. Okay. Half is ta, full is ta. Okay, then I'm going to erase this. The next letter is da, which is a line down and an S. Da, with a line on top. You may see that earlier on, which I've done what's called nga and da, there's not too much difference. Okay, the only difference is for nga, you put a dot next to it. So sometimes people can get confused when you are reading later on, but pay attention to the fact. If you put a dot next to it, it becomes nga. Without it, it's a da. Okay. I'm just going to erase this. The last one is da. Da. It is more or less like this. It is only there's a circle at the side. So actually, maybe I should not. Okay. So as you can see, the first second and the fourth one look very, very similar. The ta and da, all of them look quite similar. So you need to pay attention to the formation of those letters because sometimes people can get confused. Okay. So ta ta, and this is the last one, fourth one, which is da. Okay. This usually comes in the word mudha mate. Mudha. Okay. So just explain, give you some context to the word where it is used, mudha. Okay. So this is the fourth da, which is da. And the last one, which is the fifth one, which is the nasal sound, is na. Which is something like a U, you write. When you write a line next to it, draw a star, and you connect it. It's na. Na. So again, I will go back to those sounds. You can see ta is a half circle here. Ta is full. Da is a line and an S. Da. Da is more or less like the ta, but with a circle at the end. Da. And this is na, a U and an L, I would say, with a line at the top. Na. Okay. Ta, ta, da, da, na. I think I had said, I will do for 45 minutes and then go for a Q&A or, testing your familiarity with the letters. But I will cover maybe one more set and then we'll go to a Q&A if it's okay. The next one is the tha varga. Okay, tha varga. So which is the dental sound. Okay, dental means your tongue is almost touching the tha varga, the tongue is pointing up. In the tha varga, the tongue is pointing or touching the teeth or just the space above the teeth, I would say. So they are called dental or danta. Okay, tha, tha. Okay. Where the teeth actually start, the big point where the teeth start, that's where you touch the tongue, tip of the tongue, and you pronounce. The th, the th, and na. The th, the th, na. As you can see, the tongue is point where it's touching. Okay. The th, the th, na. Again, this is unaspirated, this aspirated. The th, the unaspirated, and the is aspirated. And this is na. This is a little softer na, which is the most common one, I think, in English language you would come across. Na. So again, the same position, the tongue's position is identical in all these. The th, the th, na. Okay. I will just go over the writing of these letters. The first letter is ta. You start at the bottom of the letter. I don't know how to explain to you in any other words, but you go up.
If you stop sharing, we can see it better.
Oh, sorry, I didn't. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good, thank you. Can you see?
Yeah.
Okay, I will again write. You start at the bottom of the letter, actually, this letter. This is ta. Okay. Start at the bottom, go up. Again, a staff with a line at the top, which is ta. I'm going to erase this. The second one is ta. You start at the top. You start with a squiggly or a small circle. So it's more or less like writing a 2. Number 2. And then you write a staff below that, you would say. So this becomes your th. Some people write a nice circle here at the beginning. There are a few letters which you can get confused. I will touch upon later, maybe next class. But this is th. And okay. And some people will write it this way also. Okay. It's a bit tricky because there are letters when if you start writing, you will see the difference. Some people write like this also. You can get confused with another letter called bha. Later on, we will look at it. But the most important thing is then how this line travels up. Okay. You look at them later. But you can say it's a 2 written, something like that. Okay. The third one is the sound. It's something like this. I think you may have looked at the fourth letter in the ta varga, which is dha, is more or less like this, but the circle stops here. But here, actually, there's a line which goes below. So this becomes the. Okay. This is the third letter in the ta varga, the. Ta, ta, dha. So ta, ta, da. Okay. And the fourth letter is the written. It will start with a circle at the. This is the sound, the fourth letter in the ta varga. Okay. This is quite similar to the fourth letter in the ka varga also, if you look at it.
Yeah.
Okay. So the fourth, I will just draw it here. So that's also more or less same. The only difference you will see is the line actually touches both the top parts of both the letters. In the case of the, actually it will not touch. Okay. When we come to words, I will point that out to you. But that is the difference between the fourth, the dha, and fourth gha. Just pay attention to that. We will come to it later. When we look at reading words, that time I will point it out. But for now, I think just become familiar with the letter. Okay. The fifth letter in the ta varga is the na. Is it too small? I don't know. Okay, something like this. Okay. So this is the fifth letter in the ta varga. It's called na. Okay. So we have covered 4 vargas so far, which is ka varga. Go back again. Ka varga, ka, kha, ga, gha, nga. Okay. Written this the way we have written ka, kha, ga, gha, and nga. The second one is cha, cha, ja, ja, and nya. Cha, cha, ja, ja, nya. How it's written, I have also pointed out. You can take a look at it. I will put some sheets for you to practice. I have not uploaded it yet. I will do so. Then the next one is the ta varga. So ka, cha, ta. Ta, ta, da, dha, na. Okay. How it's written is pointed out. Please pay attention to the transliteration. The dot at the bottom means always curl the tongue up. Ta, ta, da, dha, na. Then we came to the ta varga, which is ta, tha, the, dha, and na. Ta, tha, the, dha, na. So actually what happens is you use your lung more for the second and the fourth letters. So actually many people, they say by practicing these sounds, you improve your lung capacity and the control of the lung muscles also. Ta, tha, dha, dha, na. Ta, tha, dha, dha, na. Like that people practice. Ka, kha, ga, gha, na. Cha, cha, ja, ja, nya. Ta, ta, da, da, na. Ta, tha, da, dha, na. Okay. So by practicing these, I don't know whether I should cover the one last one is there in the varga. Maybe I will cover that.
Excuse me.
Yes.
I have a question. Now, if you go back the previous slide, please. That's also a ta varga, and also the previous one also the ta. What?
No, this is ta. This is ta.
Oh, okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay. See, this says all of them have dots because that is cerebral.
Perfect.
Okay.
Got it. Thank
This
you.
one is ta. Okay.
Yeah.
So as long as we should be very, very clear because sometimes it can be very misleading when you are reading. So I think you all should.
Thank you so much. Got it.
So I think someone says, whether if you think appropriate, could you ask all of us while on mute to repeat after all? Yeah, we can go do that. Okay. Maybe if you all feel it's a good practice, I am just going to say you all, even with mute, you can practice. If you have any doubts, you just ask me and then we will go over that. Okay. So we are going to practice the pronouncing sounds. Ka, kha. Ka, kha. Ga, gha. Ga, gha. And nga. Nga. Okay, we will go over them. Ka, kha. Ga, gha. Nga. Ka, kha. Ga, gha. Nga. Ka, kha. Ga, gha. Nga. This is like, exercise routines, lift your hands up. It's like that. The tongue, you can watch how your tongue is, and it is just practicing how the sound is produced. Okay. So we are going to the cha varga. Cha, 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 cha. Ja, 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 ja. and nya. Nya. I'm just going to go back to the ka. Sometimes you think, how the difference could be. For example, we say samasta loka sukhi no bhavantu. That sukhi actually is this letter. Okay, sukhi means let everyone be happy. Sukhi no bhava. But if you, instead of the ki, if you say ki, sukhi no bhavantu, that means parrot. Sukha is parrot. So let everyone be a parrot. Means if you say sukhi no bhavantu. If instead of sukhi no bhavantu, if you say sukhi no bhavantu, it basically means let everyone be parrots. Okay. In this case, let everyone be happy. So there can be differences in meaning. Okay. So this is cha, cha, ja, ja, nya. Okay. So let's say there is this called dharmam chara. Satyam vada dharmam chara. Okay, that chara actually uses this letter, dharmam chara. But if you say dharmam chara, which using this cha, that means cut the dharma off, destroy it. Okay, so that is how. So one is walk along the path of dharma, dharmam chara. If you instead of that cha, if you use this cha, that means cut it out. Charati means you cut a tree down, means charati, so you want to destroy. So the meaning completely changes. Okay. So cha, cha, ja, ja, and nya. Cha, cha, ja, ja, nya. I don't know whether I'm too fast. I will press slow, make it slow. Cha, cha, ja, ja, nya. Cha, cha, ja, ja, nya. Cha, cha, ja, ja, nya. Okay, I will go to the next one, which is the ta varga. Point again, dot at the bottom means curl up the tongue. The ta, the ta, the dha, the dha, na, na. Okay, just pay attention to where the tongue is. I think that's the most important in producing the sound. Each mouth may produce slightly differently, but the most important thing is the placing of the tongue properly. Okay, da, tha, da, dha, na. The last one we covered is the ta varga. Note there is no dot at the bottom. This is the common soft ta. The tha, the dha, and na. The tha, the dha, and na. Again, here also I will point out Satyam vada. That is this da. Satyam vada means speak the truth. Vada means to speak. Satyam vada, speak the truth. But if you say Satyam vada, using this one, that means kill. Vadham, vadham means to destroy or kill somebody. So Satyam vada, if you say destroy the truth, that's the meaning can completely change. The Satyam vada, okay. The and na. The na. Okay, so those are it's about 10:05. Maybe I will pause here and see if anyone has any questions on whatever was covered last week, this week, or anything general which relates to these. I will open it up for any questions you may have. I don't know whether I'm too fast or too slow. Some feedback will be good for me. I don't want to rush, but at the same time, I don't want to be too slow also.
Sai Ram.
Sai Ram.
What's the difference between the last na and the one before the na, the dot below?
Yeah, so this one and this na, this is what you are saying.
Yes.
So sister, you have to pay attention to where the tongue is.
Okay.
This na is produced with the tongue curled up. Na. Touch the tip, roof of the mouth. Na. Okay, the more you bend, the thicker the sound will be. Na. Whereas in this case, this one, the tongue should be touching the top of the teeth or on the teeth. Ta, na. Ta, na.
Okay.
Okay, where you say that the word ta, that is where you produce the word na. Ta, na.
Yeah.
The other one is da, na.
Okay.
So that is the difference. It is the position of the tongue. Okay. So what happens is, sometimes we don't pay attention where the tongue is. So sometimes we may place it somewhere in between. So it's neither there, na, or na. Okay. So pay attention to where you place the tongue. It's like, this is a practice. Ta, ta, da, da, na. So you keep the tongue up and practice the sound. Then ta, ta, da, da, na. Ta, ta, da, da, na. So get familiar with the tongue position. And once the tongue positions are all fixed, then learning the words in Sanskrit becomes easier.
Okay.
Because it's ultimately, it's a gymnastics of the tongue. You will see how the tongue moves up and down, and that determines. Okay. That produces certain, the muscles of the tongue also will get strengthened. It's also believed that has impact on different parts of the body. Because different parts of the tongue is connected to different parts in the body. And by exercising the tongue, you will actually exercise the body. I don't know whether you all know in acupuncture, there are press points which are pressed to deal with different parts of the body.
Yes.
So the body is so interconnected, and the tongue actually, there's a point in the tongue which relates to every part in the body. So there are people who say that if you chant certain mantras, you actually can cure yourself from different ailments in the part of the body also is one of the theories. Your energy level will improve. You can cure yourself of ailments. These are, so some of the mantras which are prescribed actually treat different parts of the body. So that is the thing. So pay attention to how the tongue is positioned in the mouth. Very, very important. It is more important than even the production of the sound. Is my understanding.
Okay.
So
Thank you. Thank you.
So palatal na and dental na, is that?
Yes. So palatal. So again, we will go back to, I think Sister Tharani is asking for examples of, I don't know whether she wants examples of how the sounds are used. We will cover that, sister. At this point in time, I just want to give you the structure of the sounds. If you want, we can say some of the letters are not very common. You may have not come across. Like ka is for kalpana, kamala. That is, this ka is used. This ka is not used much. For example, sky, it's called khaga. So sukha, dukkha. For those, this ka is used. So these are all called guttural or kanta. Kanta means your throat. So that is where you produce the sound. Ka, ga. So if you keep your tongue, you can see the vibration itself. Okay. See, this is ga. So it's the words like gamana. Gamana means to move. Gam ganapataye. Okay, ganapataye.
Ganga.
Pardon?
Ganga.
Ganga. So those are words which you use. Okay. This ga is not that often used. Usually, I can't think of a word which you all may be familiar with it, but I will leave it for now.
It's ghar. Sorry to interrupt. Ghar means home. Ghar.
Yes, ghar, yeah, so it is Hindi speaking people. Okay.
Yeah.
but in Hindi it's ghar. Okay. The na is like Ganga. Somebody said no, that gang is used actually. Okay. So these are all guttural. Okay, what is produced at the back of the mouth. Then we come to cha.
Hi Ram. Yeah, what's an example for nga? Would it be like singam?
Yeah, singha, singha. That's right. Ganga, gang. Usually you know you will have very few letters where you start with nga, but generally it precedes the ka varga. You know, you will always come across. Okay, Ganga. Simha is it's a in Tamil. You know, I will come to that. It's a bit more involved because the third letter, the letter which follows that is ha, singha. Okay, but you use the ng, but the third letter you come across is ha, singha. Okay, but you are right. The ng is same, but because in Tamil we will say singam or singam. You know, but actually is ha. I hope it's okay, Sister Bhavani. So I would go with the word Ganga, where it's much more clear, because the position of the tongue is the same. Okay, nga and ga. Okay, Ganga is a good place. Okay.
Is the first ga and the last ga in the Ganga is the same? In the same
Yes.
position?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
I mean, so I think, you know, we will spend a lot of time with each of these. I'm going to choose, I've already chosen the words for each of those combinations, and we will practice them. I may be in the 5th or 6th lesson. At that time, you'll become more familiar with it. At this point in time, I just want you to understand the structure of the different categorization of the sounds. Once you're familiar with it, then we will spend a lot of time in how do we pronounce the sound in words and so on. And that time the application will be there. And I think that time only you will absorb. So don't worry too much if you can't recollect the letters at this point in time. We will get there soon, okay? I hope it's not too slow for you all. You know, I could have covered all consonants in one class, but I thought it would be too much rushed. So that's why I'm taking a bit more time. And
Brother, the
yes.
till sound, the till sound, it's for what? It's not a long sound.
Which one? This one?
Where you keep the tongue for that, the till?
Okay, so sister, it's where you say cha. So let's say cha. Just watch where your tongue is. Cha. So the same place you keep the tongue and produce a nasal sound. Nya. Cha. Nya. Okay, where you produce a sound, where you vibrate the sound is the only thing which differs. Cha, nya, cha, nya.
Thank you.
Okay, so that is the tilt. Okay, that's what you are referring to. Just focus on the first letter and then keep the tongue in the same place and try to produce the other sounds. You should be okay. So it's cha, cha, ja, ja, nya. Yes, Sister Vinodini has raised her hand up.
Sorry, this is not about pronunciation, sorry. I just, when I try to print it in a Word, it's not allowing me the PDF. It says it's web, so I don't know. I was trying to convert
so
it.
I purposely, you wanted a Word document, I can upload a Word document also. See, the problem with me uploading the Word document is then you'll have to install the fonts which I have used.
Okay.
Okay, so that is why I have created a PDF file. Otherwise, I have to give you all, that's also no problem. If anyone is interested, I will load the fonts which I am using. You have to install it in Word or in Microsoft. Then you can open up a Word document. Okay. Without that, if you open, it will be a problem. If there's a demand, I will upload the fonts which I have used, get them, download and install, and then I will also load a Word document. Okay. So then you will be able to, but now I'm using PDF. I thought it's more universally people can open and read without confusion or formatting and things like that. That's the only reason. But I don't have any problem in loading the Word documents also.
It was only like we have to. I thought it might be easier than less papers, but it's okay.
Okay, but you can reduce the. You can specifically choose the pages you want to print, sister.
Okay.
You can, it's a bit more work at your end.
Yeah.
But I will load the Word document. It's not a problem.
Okay.
Actually,
thank you.
it's not Word. Actually, I have used PowerPoint. Most of them are in PowerPoint. So the thing is, because I have made it visible, that's the reason. I'm sure, I know it's a lot of pages, 31 pages in this you would have printed if you printed everything.
Yeah, I did.
Sorry about it. But I don't know how to help, but print the pages which you want, I would say. Okay.
Okay.
Some of them you can refer online, some of them you may want it. If somebody has any better idea, you let me know. Otherwise, I will again load the PowerPoint, because I didn't know how many of you may have PowerPoint or Microsoft. Not everyone may have the software. That's why I chose the PDF route. I'm sure when you print, it's a lot of pages.
We don't need to print all of them. We can just print the last page. Last page is all the summary of all the words. So that's just it. That should be good enough.
Yeah. So you choose. Think and print. But I will load the PowerPoint also if it's okay, and along with the fonts. Okay. Thank you. I think one brother Kumar is asking that he does not have access. If you enroll yourself in the Google Classroom, brother, you can download the material. They all posted there. Anyone who joins, I think Brother Dasan can help you. That's my comment to you. I think I'm going to appoint Brother Dasan as the software support person to help anyone. If it's okay, Brother Dasan.
Yeah, no worries. I'll do that.
Okay. Anyone else has any other questions? So if no questions, I think it's just a matter. Don't worry too much if you cannot recognize all the letters and if you're getting confused. Once we start reading words, you will become more and more familiarity. Language is all about familiarity. I just wanted to show you the divisions of sound. Maybe because there are no questions, I'm just going to cover the pa varga. This is the fifth of the vargiya consonants. Vargiya means there are classes of sounds. So that's the pa, which is produced with the lips. So I see I made a mistake. Sorry about it. Okay. I think I later. One second. Give me a minute, I hope. Sorry, I think I may have to reload that material which I've given you. Sorry about it. So pa varga is what's called labial or aushtav. Okay. So the lips are used. That's the fifth of the. So as I said, mentioned, there are 5 points in the mouth: guttural, palatal, cerebral, dental, and labial, which is the fifth category. So you use the word pa, pa, ba, bha, and ma. Pa, pa, ba, bha, ma. Okay, that's called pa varga. Okay, how it's written is, I will just show you here. Pa, pa. This is unaspirated. This is aspirated. Pa, pa, ba, bha, and ma. Generally, sometimes you see people when they come across this PH, the second letter, some people pronounce it as fa, fa. Okay, so for example, the word phalam, okay, comes with, uses the word, this letter, pa. But some people say phala. That is an influence in the north because of Urdu and so on. So they tend to pronounce it as fa. So I think that's something which you have to pay attention to. The original Sanskrit pronunciation is pa, pa, ba, bha, ma. As I had mentioned, the position where you produce the sound is the same for a particular varga, particular class. So where you start with pa is where all the other consonants get pronounced. Pa, pa, ba, bha, ma. Okay, that's when they're all in the same class. Okay, so another thing which I thought I will point out is this bha is used for bhajan, bhakti, or bhagavan. Okay, but generally we may use this ba and say bhajan, bhakti, bhagavan. Okay, that's something which is a problem, I think, maybe especially in the south in Tamil, among Tamils. So you should use the word bha. So ba, bha, and ma. Ba, bha, ba, bha, ma. So that brings, that sort of covers the 5 positions in the mouth where the same sounds are produced, different sounds are produced with the same position of the tongue. Okay, ba, bha, ba, bha, ma. Maybe we'll just practice before I write. Ba, bha, ba, bha, and ma, ma. Pa, pa, ba, bha, ma. Pa, pa, ba, bha, ma. Okay, so that covers all the 5 vargas. I will just write them, I guess, once. And then I think there's a question. Sairam, Sister Anita, you are given your email address. Have you joined the Google Classroom? Otherwise, I will send you the.
Sairam, I tried to search in my email. I had given it earlier, but I couldn't find any email that was in my junk.
I will send you an email, sister.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So I'm just going to just write all the 5 letters. So we are going to write the pa sound. You can look at it as a U. You write a U with an extended staff below that, okay? So this also can be closer to the sound na. Na, if you can see, again, there's same, but it has a gap, okay? So there's a gap. Na, in the ta varga also you will see, but it's similar to that, but here it's joined, okay? I just thought I will point it out. So that is pa. The second pa is actually the same thing, but it's okay. There are slightly different versions of how people write, but this is good enough. You know, you can say a U with an extra H, U and H, you can say. This is a U, then you write an H. and you can call it a pa. There is slightly, because sometimes this can be confused with the word, the letter ka. The first letter ka varga, as you can see, is like this. Okay, it's more or less the same thing, but the curvature is slightly, it's a bit more circular here. Okay, sometimes if you're writing, you can run into problem. If you're reading written letter, you can have that problem. But I just thought I would just point out similarities. The next letter is ba, the third letter in the pa varga. It's something like a D with an extension below, but you have to draw a line, a diagonal line. Okay, this is ba. So you write a D with a little extension at the bottom and a line at the top with a diagonal line in between. Ba. Okay. Then the fourth letter is bha, which is used for bhajan, bhagavan, bhakti, and all that. Okay, this will be similar to your second tha. The tha varga, the tha is quite similar to this. Okay. So as long as you just pay attention to it, this is a bit more squarish, I would say. Okay, this is bha. And the fifth one is ma. That's similar to pa, but it's like this. So you can see what is the difference between bha and ma is you'll always find this line does not touch it. This line will not touch this part, the front part of the letter, which is bha. Whereas ma, you can see it is touched. Okay, that's the difference between ma and bha. But both of them are a bit more squarish compared to the tha, the second one. Okay. So I thought I would just point those out. So that is pa varga. I have covered what I thought. I had a little more material, I guess, but this is what I have covered. I am just going to, if there are no questions, maybe we can close the session for today, because almost 10:30.
Sairam.
Yes.
Brother, I just make an announcement here in regards to the study circle. Sairam, everyone. We have a regular study circle on weekends, on Saturday and Sunday at 3 to 4:30 p.m. So everyone encouraged to join for that too. Thank you, Sairam.
Okay, thank you very much, sister. Okay, so if I think there is a comment. Okay, thank you very much, Brother Bala. Oh, Bala Auntie, I think. Okay. Okay, thank you very much for joining, and we will meet next week and continue where we left off. If there are any questions, you can email. There are a couple of you for whom I'm going to send the Google Classroom information so you can join.
So yeah, so you will be sending me the email, or is it?
Yeah, I will send you the Brother Kumar. I will send you also, and you and Sister Anita I will send.
Thank you. Jai Sai Ram.
And if you have any questions, you can ask Brother Dasan also. He can help you.
Yes. Oh yeah,
okay.
that's my. Yes, I will ask him. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much.
Hi Ram,
Okay.
thank you.
Sai Ram. So we will close with Samastaloka. Okay, Sai Ram. Samastaloka sukhino bhavantu. Samastaloka sukhino bhavantu. Samastaloka sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sai Ram, everyone.
Sai Ram.
Thank you, Sarah.
Sai Ram.